Good evening and welcome to the Organization Meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Larchmont. Today is Monday, December 6th, 2021. Let the record show that the entire board is present. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, the organization meeting is really the best meeting of the year. It's where we start off with the newly elected, sworn-in board members and justices sometimes. It's also the beginning of our year, and it allows us to have a clean slate, a fresh start, take a look back, set some priorities for the new year. After the year we've had, and 2 years we've had, we are hoping that we are really turning a corner for 2022. We're going to start with the administration of the oaths to our two new trustees and our re-elected village justice, Thea Beaver. So we're going to have Trustee Brennan, Trustee Post, meet me down. Trustee Brennan first. How's that? Raise your right hands. I, Bridget Brennan,
I, Bridget Brennan,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly
that
swear
I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United
and
States
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of trustee of the Village of Larchmont Board of Trustees.
the duties of trustee of the Village of Larchmont
Board of Trustees.
Board of Trustees
According to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Yay! I, Dana Post,
I, Dana Post,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly
that
swear
I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United
and the
States
Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully
the
discharge
duties of trustee
the duties of trustee
of the Village of Larchmont Board of Trustees
of the Village of Larchmont Board of Trustees
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Next up, Thea Beaver, Village Justice, just finishing her fifth term, 20 years as Village Justice, about to start another fourth. Thank you. Yes. You may, but I don't have one. You'll alter it. You'll amend it.
Don't swear
Don't swear me. Don't swear as a trustee.
No, but she'll quit immediately. So before we get started, I just have to say to everybody that this is Justice Beaver's sixth term as Justice in the Village of Larchmont. And it's been my honor as her co-justice to serve with her. And I think we have a wonderful partnership in running our village court, which we've done over all these years. And it's my honor to drag myself out of bed. Now, I'm not fully responsible for everything I'm saying because I'm heavily medicated. In fact, if our Larchmont Police Department went to my apartment, they'd probably arrest me. Possession of controlled substances. But that being said, I think I'm reasonably coherent and sufficiently coherent to administer the oath of office. All right, please repeat after me. I, Thea Beaver,
I,
Thea Beaver,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of village justice
the duties of village justice
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
I invite you.
Thank you, Mayor.
To say a few words, and then we'll hear from our trustees after.
So you can see that my co-judge, nothing keeps him down. Here he is. Thank you, Jerry. It's a pleasure to serve with you.
And by the way, the fact that I was not wearing a robe does not mean that it was not an official swearing.
And congratulations to my running mates, Richard Brennan and Dana Post. I'm so happy that you're both stepped up to be trustees. It's a very important position. I thank the mayor and the board for all the work you do. It goes often unappreciated, maybe, but I appreciate you all. So thank you. And maybe a round of applause for And there are two more people in this room that I really appreciate. And that's my husband, who has been incredibly encouraging, and my daughter, who's sitting beside him. She is working full-time and getting her PhD, so she took the time to be here. And thank you. You've encouraged me in my role as judge and everything I do. So thank you all. I really look forward to 4 more years.
And now, I invite trustee Brennan to say a few words, and after that, then we can move to trustee Post.
Thank you, Mayor. I also would like to congratulate my fellow members that were sworn in tonight. It's a very exciting evening for the three of us, and I know that we're looking forward to this next term and sharing it together. I also want to note now that the mayor took a lot of chances and appointed me earlier this year. And so I am especially grateful that she gave me the opportunity to have some training, having training wheels on since the early 2021, and to see what trustee role was like. And then the Village of Larchmont Democrats for having the trust in me to put me on their slate. I can't tell you how much I love being part of Larchmont. We've been here for 23 years. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm pretty involved with a lot of organizations, and I have to say that when I told my husband and family that I was going to take this role on, as usual, they were not surprised and were very supportive, and so they are by far my biggest thanks go to them tonight. I think, when I thought about this evening and what it meant to me, the one personal story I'd love to share is that, people say you're a product of your experiences, and so this evening, I reflected a lot on people who made this possible. I grew up in a town very different than here. It's a rural town in the state, and I was raised by a single mother who didn't have the time to do all the things I have to do, and I like to do with my children. But all of the community involvement, all the teachers, all the parents that drove me to practices and picked me up the games when my mother couldn't, allowed me to have the application I needed to get to college. And through the donations of very generous people, I got scholarships to get through college and law school. And so when the opportunity to serve in any capacity in this village comes up, I never think twice about the role. I always think it's just part of my life. It's what I've seen around me my whole life. The people that have done it for me, why wouldn't I do it for them? And so I hope that I serve you well, and that my small contribution is a positive effect in other people's lives as well. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations, Bridget, congratulations, Leah. I feel so honored to be elected to serve in this role. And I just want to thank everyone who encouraged and supported me to pursue the position of trustee, including my husband, Ian Post, who is in the audience. I also feel so proud to serve along with this amazing board, the mayor, to work with Justin. Before joining, I knew you all work hard, but now I fully appreciate how much time, devotion, and commitment goes into governing this village. It is truly amazing. As trustee, I look forward to continuing to build on the work that you all have done. I also would love to get more people involved in our local government and encourage everyone to join committees, become involved in village initiatives, and I really want to just be available. If there's any concerns or ideas you have about the village, please feel free to reach out to me. And just thank you all for entrusting me in this role, and I look forward to serving this community.
And I would like to add my thanks to Bridget and Dana for being receptive to the call and for everything that you bring to this board. And I really look forward to working with you for this next year or two. I've known Bridget almost since the day I moved to Larchmont. Our children grew up together. We have a long history together, and she's going to be a wonderful trustee. And I got to know Dana through the Village of Larchmont Democrats. She's dedicated, smart, hardworking, and I know she's going to be incredibly valuable to us. So I look forward to working with you both. And with my other, of course, trustees, who I've been, some of whom I've been with for a very long time. And also to Thea Beaver, thank you very much for coming on again and running for Village Justice again. You are really the epitome of what a local village justice should be. And I also have known Thea as long as I've lived here because she's my neighbor. And it's that kind of town. Next up on the agenda is my mayor's address. But before I start with the state of the village, I would like to hope that all of you who celebrate had a happy Hanukkah. Maybe you had an opportunity last night to be here for the lighting of the last candle on the menorah in Constitution Park and the gelt drop from the tower ladder. It was a lot of fun. A Merry Christmas to all of those who celebrate, and of course a Happy New Year, because we don't have another meeting until January. I want to thank Town of Mamaroneck Supervisor Nancy Seligson for coming to our organization meeting. We've been great partners all these years. Nancy is retiring at the end of December. She has stepped down, and there will be a new town supervisor. But we thank her so much for all her years of service to our community, and she's been a great partner and good friend, and we appreciate that she came here this evening. So this is a little long, bear with me, but there's a lot to cover. This is the first State of the Village since April 2019.
Excuse me.
I'll wait.
I'll get out as quickly as I can.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
So this is the first State of the Village since April 2019 due to the disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, postponed and rescheduled elections, and virtual meetings. Although through our monthly newsletters we try to keep everyone apprised, I will use this opportunity to review village activities and events for both 2020 and 2021. As you might expect, COVID and how we handled it will feature prominently. Of course, no State of the Village could begin without first acknowledging the extraordinary efforts of the many members of the Larchmont community who volunteer countless hours to make this village such a wonderful place to live and work. And never has this been more important than over these last 20 months. I want to be sure that I give a personal thank you to the Board of Trustees, with extra congratulations to Bridget and Dana on their recent election. All village committee members, volunteer firefighters, and the volunteer ambulance corps, community organizations, and business owners. It truly does take a village. But special recognition and thanks must go out to village staff. When COVID hit in March of 2020, across the board, our staff had to pivot quickly, finding ways to keep Larchmont running while working to ensure they and our residents were protected. Over the last 20 months, we said goodbye to many long-time, dedicated employees who retired or moved on. And recently, we've welcomed new additions to our staff who we're confident will be just as dedicated to our village. Some of the many changes that had to be implemented were creating COVID protocols for handling emergency calls, moving all board and committee meetings to Zoom and virtual, creating a lobby service desk to reduce traffic within the building, setting up an online scheduler for making appointments to review materials or meet with staff, staggering shifts and breaks to reduce the number of employees gathered together at any one time, acquiring and distributing PPE, and implementing rules at playgrounds and parks. Then, of course, since COVID wasn't enough, there was Tropical Storm Isaias in August of 2020 and Ida in September of 2021. Both of these weather events kept our DPW and emergency responders hard at work for days on end. A big thank you to all for your dedication to getting the job done well. And as applications for renovations increased dramatically during COVID, the Planning Board, Architectural Review Board, and Zoning Board of Appeals worked overtime to try to accommodate the needed reviews under new working circumstances, thanks to the members of those land use boards. We've been back to our normal operations since July, which is when in-person Board of Trustee meetings also resumed. We have continued to require appointments for the building department, and the land use boards continue to hold their meetings virtually using digital plans. It seems some of the adaptations necessary for COVID actually ended up being improvements. Although the governor recently declared a state of emergency again, we are waiting to see the data on Omicron from researchers and are monitoring our numbers of new cases locally. Over the entire course of the pandemic, Larchmont had 664 reported cases of COVID, 1 reported fatality, and we currently have 23 active new cases. This is the first December reorganization meeting in Larchmont's history, but this will now be the norm. Since at the rescheduled September 2020 village election, residents overwhelmingly approved moving our village election to coincide with the November general election. We felt, and the community obviously agreed, that this change would make more residents aware of the village election and increase participation. Thankfully, the village, by which I mean Deputy Mayor Bauer, began using constant contact for emails to residents in September of 2019. This put us in a good place for the incredible level of communication necessary during COVID, especially in those first few months. We now have a monthly digital newsletter and email updates as needed, going out to over 2,400 subscribers. We also upped our game on Facebook and Instagram, where we now have 2,100 and 1,200 followers respectively. Some village posts even reach over 6,000 people. Up next in the improved communication, the long-awaited revamp of our website. Plus, our domain will be shorter and easier to remember and type as we move from villageoflarchmont.org to larchmontny.gov. Of course, a major focus of the board has and continues to be the vitality of Larchmont's downtown and its survival during COVID, about which we were incredibly concerned. Here is where having a close-knit community was so invaluable. To support our businesses, residents stepped up with donations, and over $150,000 in grants was given out through One Larchmont, and low-interest loans were provided through Bridge the Gap Larchmont. As New York started its phased reopening, the board and administration began talking about the need to expand our existing usage of public space to provide additional capacity to restaurants, retailers, and service providers. We knew that customers may not be comfortable going indoors, and the capacity limits of 25% were not a sustainable business model. We began those conversations in mid-May, and by early June, we had a plan in place. I executed an executive order changing the rules for use of public space, and we had mapped out lane and street closures, created free permits, and had ordered barriers. Because of our early planning, when the opening date was unexpectedly moved forward by 2 weeks, we were ready on June 8th, putting out the barriers to set up for outdoor dining in parking lanes, streets, and parking lots. Because we were ready to go on day one, we attracted people from all over who were looking forward to getting out again, and who otherwise would not necessarily have come to Larchmont. The stories on NBC News and in the Journal News highlighted what we were doing and helped draw people to our community. In addition to using the sidewalks and streets for restaurants and retailers, we also provided, at no charge, space in our public parks for yoga classes, music instruction, and co-working events, among other things. The opportunity to have this additional capacity helped so many to not only survive, but thrive. In an article in the Yale Daily News from early September 2020, the owner of Tequila Sunrise stated that, after suffering through his worst spring ever since reopening on June 9th with outdoor dining, he was within a few days of canceling out that deficit. As winter approached, the village decided to continue outdoor dining and the use of the parks. We once again changed the regulations to handle new cold weather uses, and One Larchmont stepped up again with another fundraising effort to purchase igloos and greenhouses for restaurants. Although we did lose some of our businesses during this time, we had several new businesses open during COVID. We celebrated the anniversaries of longtime Larchmont staples who were sustained by our efforts. And when we compare ourselves to pre-COVID, we ended up with a net gain of thriving new businesses in our downtown. Progress continues on the 2 new buildings in the downtown. 1912 Palmer, which burned down in November of 2016, is almost complete. The exterior should be closed up and scaffolding removed this week. The sidewalk and parking will be reopened shortly thereafter. However, a new sidewalk does need to be poured. This is presently planned for next week. Please join me in crossing fingers on that because it's been a really long wait. The board recently toured Centra, the new mixed-use building on Chatsworth, and it's really looking great. We're excited to see this rejuvenation of the Chatsworth-Palmer area and look forward to completion of both sometime in the spring, bringing additional foot traffic, new retail, and vitality to the village. The fiscal health of the village is of the utmost importance to this board. Just before the COVID-related shutdown started, the village had prepared its tentative 2021 budget and was moving toward adoption. Within a short time, it became clear that the village's finances were going to be impacted in a major way. The tentative budget was amended to reflect the approximately $800,000 in anticipated revenue shortfalls, and only a 1% increase to the property tax levy. To accomplish this, we cut and deferred planned capital projects, put a hiring freeze in place on all vacant positions, as well as numerous other reductions in expenditures. While commuter parking revenue and court fines have been slow to come back, we did see a rebound in the area of sales tax, mortgage tax, and New York State aid. The combined result of all budgetary efforts maintained the fiscal health of the village and avoided closing the year in a deficit. Our treasurer's office are working with the independent auditors on the annual audit and financial statements, which we hope to present to the public later this month. The current year, fiscal year 21-22, budget was prepared and discussed entirely via Zoom, which was an awkward process which I don't care to repeat. The fiscal year 21-22 budget was adopted as a New York State tax compliant for the 4th year in a row and was balanced without the use of fund balance for the 3rd year in a row. These and other decisions ensure the fiscal health and favorable credit rating from rating agencies. Larchmont remains a AAA rated entity, which ensures great access to credit and low interest rates. The village board recognizes the need to invest in the village's infrastructure and provide for services while being sensitive to the property tax burden faced by property owners. To accomplish both needs, the board regularly reviews expenses and needs to ensure they are accomplished effectively and efficiently. The board is always open to review and consider non-property tax revenue sources to ease the dependence on property tax increases. As we embark on the preparation of our fiscal year 22-23 budget, it's clear that rising costs felt by residents will impact the village's expenditures. The cost of electricity purchased by the village is expected to increase 25%. Health insurance is expected to increase by 10%. in addition to the rising cost of fuel and other supplies. The village board will move forward with a commitment to making decisions in the best interest of Larchmont's residents as stewards of the community. As fellow residents, we are all sensitive to the need to control taxes. The board is always working to develop additional non-tax revenue streams as well as take new looks at some of the drivers of expenses. After several years of study, discussion, and communication with the community, the board implemented paid on-street parking in Larchmont. In December of 2020, we approved a borrowing resolution of $625,000 to purchase multi-space meters, a license plate reader, new signage, and other related items. The system was installed in the spring of 2021 and went fully live June 1, 2021. As had been stated in village parking studies dating back to the 1960s, paid parking is the most effective tool we can use to create turnover and business-supportive use of parking. It also recognizes the value of this common asset and creates an opportunity for the users, not all of whom are Larchmont Village taxpayers, to assume some of the financial responsibility for its upkeep. To that end, and in recognition of the significance of this change to Larchmont, the board created a special revenue fund through which all revenue and expenses for this new parking franchise would flow. We then set a policy that 90% of the net revenue of this fund would be dedicated to having this new revenue source be spent primarily, of this net revenue of this fund would be restricted to use for capital projects related to transportation and mobility. We are dedicated to having this new revenue source be spent primarily on long-lasting, tangible improvements that will benefit the entire community. Grants can be an important component of non-tax revenue, and we are pleased to announce that these past 2 years, the fire department was awarded $22,000 for COVID supplies, $12,800 for a washer and dryer to in-house clean the fire department turnout gear, and $1,500 for new hoses and nozzles. And Chief Caparelli has recently applied for a $1 million grant to purchase a new tower ladder truck. Again, let's cross our fingers. We should hear by mid-2022. We also won a New York State DEC grant for the installation of 3 electric vehicle charging stations in the amount of $67,553, and these will be installed over the next few months. Thanks to the support of Assemblyman Steve Otis, we were awarded a New York State SAM grant in the amount of $250,000 for the replacement of a water main and some hydrants and valves. We are working with the town of Mamaroneck, our partners in the Joint Sanitation Commission, on ideas for a new structure to improve the flexibility and efficiency of this important service. Our monthly work sessions are open to the public and can be found posted on the village website calendar. Additionally, a correction made to the allocation of commission costs saved the village about $130,000 in sanitation expenses in this current budget year. Next, I would like to highlight some of the operational and capital projects undertaken in the village. We've taken several steps in the effort to enhance overall efficiency and quality of service. Timely to the crisis, online parking permit sales were ready to begin in May of 2020. We also added online property tax payments in June of 2021. And residents can now pay their taxes, water bills, parking permit fees, and parking ticket fines online. We hope to move to allowing building department and other permits be payable online in the not so distant future. The DPW and water department, using the SAM grant funds, installed over 600 feet of 8-inch cast iron water main pipe and 2 new fire hydrants in Flint Park. They also reconnected the sprinklers to fields A and B and made some other improvements to connections to buildings within the park. Using in-house labor saved us at least $60,000. The staff did a great job on this project. Working with the City of New Rochelle, the Town of Mamaroneck, and the Village of Pelham Manor, we completed a thorough survey and evaluation of our sanitary sewer system. The consortium was awarded a $5.7 million grant from the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation, the village's share of which was $807,000. Since commencing the project in October of 2017, the village has spent almost $1.7 million cleaning, evaluating, repairing, and lining sections of its sanitary sewer system. As the consortium prepares to embark on phase 2 of this project, the village board has applied the entire disbursement of ARPA funds, $635,000 over the next 2 years toward additional sanitary sewer repairs. Work under Phase 2 is in the final design stages, and construction is expected to resume in early 2022. This work will include significant repairs to eliminate I&I, which is inflow and infiltration, in sections of our sanitary sewers in the area of Shore Drive, Spanish Cove, and Old Colony Drive. The village also expects to replace the water main in this work area, as well as other infrastructure improvements such as roadway drainage and paving. This year we began employing a new sidewalk grinding technique, which you may have seen on Chatsworth Avenue primarily, to remove known trip hazards without needing to replace entire sidewalks that may otherwise be in good condition. This enables us to make repairs more quickly and at a savings of 75% over replacement cost. We are awaiting the delivery of our first hybrid police vehicle and are moving towards a hybrid and electric fleet. Over the past 2 years, the DPW has been replacing village streetlight fixtures with LED light fixtures. They are about 80% done. Based on 2021 prices of electricity, the completed LED streetlight project was projected to save the village approximately $65,000 annually. This is achieved in a reduction of 276,000 kilowatt hours used by the streetlight network. In early summer of 2022, we completed an important redesign to the Turtle Park traffic intersection at Palmer and Hall Avenues. This not only improved vehicular traffic flow, but created safe pedestrian crosswalks at a busy intersection where few existed previously. And our thanks go to Joanne Grossman of Larchmont Nurseries for planting the island in our new traffic intersection in October of 2020 as her gift to the village. As an aside, she also provided all of the plants at the outdoor restaurants free of charge. She's been wonderful. The tradition of public-private partnerships continued in full force despite COVID. Working with the Parks and Trees Committee and Friends of Larchmont Parks, we managed to complete the long-planned renovation of Constitution Park. This was not without some hiccups, since we broke ground in September 2019, then had to shut down construction for several weeks. We were able to start up again, and with a combination of virtual and outdoor meetings, made our way through all the final details. The opening was held in October 2021 with a fully masked gathering of all those who helped make this amazing community gathering space a reality. Thanks again to all those who worked so hard on this project. Parks and Trees, Friends of Larchmont Parks, designer Ribby Oren, the Board of Trustees, we put a lot of time in on that, the DPW, Administrator Detino, Nix Electric, Casal, and all the generous donors, of course. Private donations funded approximately 75% of the project costs, with the remainder coming from the village. We are now working with the Flint Park Conservancy on a proposed renovation plan of that park's playing fields, playground, paths, paddle tennis court, and basketball court. And I'm happy to say this also includes improving the park's tree canopy. This plan is moving into the final review stage, with next steps being a public presentation and approval of a capital project budget by the board. We are dedicated to ensuring our parks are in good shape, and we are committed to enhancing the village's natural environment. To that end, in the fall of 2020, Larchmont's board instituted the first gas-powered leaf blower ban in the Northeast. Since then, we've been contacted by numerous communities around the country asking for advice on how they can implement their own bans. And there is now talk of a countywide and even a statewide ban as well. Our full ban goes into effect this January 1st, 2022. This action could not have happened without the hard work and diligence of the Larchmont Environmental Committee, and we thank them for that. The LEC also brought us the creation of Westchester's first AGSA Green Zone in Cade Park, which required a commitment that there would be no use of pesticides or two-stroke engines. Having met all of AGSA's requirements, Cade Park was awarded an AGSA Green Zone certification in September 2021. Several years ago, as a result of considerable community interest in local historic preservation, the board created the Historic Preservation Task Force. Last year, using a grant from the Preservation League of New York State, they oversaw the completion of a reconnaissance-level historic resource survey. This survey can be found on the village's website under the Our Community/History tab. We are now in the beginning stages of reviewing possible historic preservation legislation and should be bringing a draft to the community soon for review and discussion. Yes, we've been very busy over the last 2 years, but we have been having a bit of fun too, at least recently. Most of our traditional events were canceled or held virtually in 2020, but we came back strong in 2021. To open the year, the Volunteer Fire Department held a spring egg hunt in Constitution Park. We then worked with the Chamber of Commerce on a very successful sidewalk sales in the downtown. On May 15th, we had the first annual Larchmont Music Festival, an all-day concert for which was the first large group activity for over a year. What a day that was. It was a lot of fun. I don't have the video to prove it. The fun continued all summer with the expanded Larchmont Summer Concerts calendar and the Speakeasy acoustic concerts sponsored by Post Wine and Spirits. In September, we celebrated the 130th birthday of Larchmont's incorporation with Larchmont Weekend. This 3-day event began with a performance by the Chamber Orchestra of New York, followed by Larchmont Day, Big Day, Truck Day Festival, and culminated in a Sunday ice cream social. This event keeps expanding in scope and growing in popularity, and it would not happen without the volunteer help of the Larchmont Professional Firefighters Association and the PBA members, volunteer firefighters, lots of community involvement, and the event organizing skills of Trustee Finelli. Thankfully, this year we were able to hold the Tri-Municipal 9/11 Memorial event, remembering those who were lost 20 years ago on that terrible day. Rounding out the fall, the Larchmont Arts Festival returned for their first year in the new Constitution Park. It was a resounding success. And on October 23rd, I believe, the Ragamuffin Parade had over 1,000 participants marching down Larchmont Avenue and stopping here at Village Hall for music and some free hot dogs. We were glad that the Larchmont Police Department was able to resume their popular Coffee with a Cop at Sunshine Coffee Roasters last week. Please watch for future opportunities to share coffee and a conversation with members of the Village Police Department. And finally, this past weekend, we had the village-wide Light Up Larchmont celebration, organized as a collaboration of the Chamber of Commerce and the Larchmont Police Department and Larchmont Professional Firefighters Association. And new this year, the Chabad of Larchmont Mamaroneck, in cooperation with Larchmont businesses, held a Hanukkah walk through the downtown and then lit a giant menorah at Constitution Park. Our thanks to everyone who works to make these community events a reality. We look forward to an even bigger schedule next year. And so on behalf of the Board of Trustees, we thank you for the opportunity to serve our friends and neighbors in the village of Larchmont, and we look forward to another very productive year. Thank you. And thank you for being such good listeners. A lot happens in 2 years.
Thanks, Nancy.
Bye, Nancy.
Night.
Next on our agenda, we will be swearing in our new police chief, Chris McNerney. I believe Administrator Tutino is going to make some introductions.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the pleasure of introducing to the community tonight Chris McNerney, as Chief of Police for the Larchmont Police Department. Although Chris is new to Larchmont, he's not new to law enforcement. He began his career with the Town of Greenberg Police Department, rising through the ranks to eventually become chief of the 115-plus member department. In addition to his work in Greenberg, he was a chief investigator for the Westchester County District Attorney's Office in the past 2019. And he comes to Larchmont with a resume that ensures professionalism, dedication to community, and excellence here in the department. He also holds a law degree, in addition to serving as a course instructor for the Westchester County Police Academy, and past president of the Westchester County Association of Chiefs of Police. So all in all, Chris McNerney is well-rounded, well-suited to be chief of the department. He's going to be supported by a team of very competent, capable members of the Larchmont Police Department throughout all of the ranks, as well as the soon-to-be members, as we have some hiring to do. And I believe everyone's excited for the new chapter of the department. Please, Chris.
swear you in first.
I, Chris McNerney,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly
that I will
swear
support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully
the
discharge
duties of Chief of the Village of Larchmont Police Department
the duties of Chief of Larchmont Village Police Department
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. I don't have my back to anybody, but Mayor Walsh, village trustees, administrator Datino, I want to thank you for this opportunity and the trust and confidence you placed in me. It's truly a privilege. I look forward to working with each of you, as well as the men and women of the Larchmont Police Department. I think so far I've met just about every member, and I've been really impressed with the professionalism and the dedication to service. I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight and for the big welcome that you've given me. I also want to congratulate Dan Calapai on his promotion to sergeant tonight. Those of us in law enforcement know that the promotion to sergeant is the most competitive promotion. So congratulations, Dan. And lastly, I want to acknowledge my family that's here tonight. I have my wife Kelly, who's hiding in the corner there. I have my two daughters in the back. That's Kelly and Marie and Rory. And Kelly's been with me on this journey since high school. They've motivated me my whole career. You know, Kelly's my rock, and I'm happy to have such a strong and supportive partner. I couldn't be more fortunate, and I look forward to working with every single one here. So thank you again for the opportunity, and I look forward to getting some goals done and buckling down in 2022 and getting some good work done.
Thank you. Get your back, yes. Dan Calapai. Raise your right hand. I, Dan Calapai,
I, Dan Calapai,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully
the
discharge
duties of Sergeant
the duties of Sergeant
of the Village of Larchmont Police Department
of the Village of Larchmont Police Department
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. Oh, I was hoping you would.
I would love to. I've never done this before. Goes in these little holes.
Yeah, right there.
Oh, good. All right, well, there you go. Let's take a picture. Thank you. Okay, next up is the report, which is going to be given tonight by Lieutenant Newsom.
Thank you, Mayor,
Thank you.
Board, Jim, Ryan, Justin. Again, I want to congratulate Chief McNerney, all right, and Dan Calapai as the new sergeant. Thank you. Okay, just to go over a few things over the past month or so. As the mayor alluded to earlier, we did Coffee with the Cop this past Thursday. Was very well attended. Matter of fact, John from Sunshine Roasters said his sales went up 30%, so I think you're only going to be back there in the spring. So that was good. We did get some nasty faces from across the street at Starbucks, but we'll have to. And we had the Christmas tree lighting over here on Saturday, which was fantastic. I want to thank members of the PBA and their families for assisting with that, and of course with the fire department and their staff. And it's become a village-wide event, so that's worked out very well. The trainings over the past month, we've continued to do the CPR and the AED training, and now we're fully certified. All of our officers, they've all been retrained in the use of the AED. So that's a mandatory training that has been taken care of. And we got an idea from the fire department, all right, John Caparelli and also Sergeant Proprota, to use one of our abandoned buildings that the fire department was using to do a police Sims training. So we'll be doing that training on December 15th, 16th, and 17th. All right, so that's going to work out very nicely. I want to ask everybody, if you see something, say something during the holiday seasons. All right, belated Happy Hanukkah and a Merry Christmas to everybody here. But if you happen to see any type of suspicious activity or persons, please give us a call and we'll check it out. Also, I wanted to let the board know that we won from AAA the 2020 Silver Award, all right, for traffic safety. So that was very nice from AAA doing that. We had a little hiccup last year, of course, during COVID, so there were no certificates or awards given out, but we're back in winning ways again. Another reminder in regards to the farmers market, we continue to tow cars on Saturdays at the farmers market, so please don't park in the designated area for the farmers market, open lot number 3. I had mentioned this at the last board meeting, but it seems to continue. So I'm hoping everybody, all right, sees the sign, reads the signs, and parks on the far end towards the elevator if they're going to be in the city or somewhere else on Friday nights. As the mayor also said, and I think the chief might have mentioned, we are in the process of interviewing. Thank you, Justin, for allowing us to do that, to bring some more people on board. We are anticipating, all right, the need to hire several people right now, and we've just been advised of 2 retirements that are going to take place from our staff in January. The last thing I wanted to remind people about is drinking during the holidays. We will have some extra patrols out near New Year's Eve. All right, so please be responsible. And that's about it. Thank you, and everybody have a great holiday season. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Family's gonna stay.
Thank you for coming out, guys. Safe for the holidays.
Merry Christmas. Next up, Fire Chief Caparelli.
You almost had an audience.
Okay, the fire department responded to over 1,150 alarms thus far in 2021. This is an all-time record for responses to calls for assistance in a calendar year. Hurricane Ida, as well as increased mutual aid responses to our neighboring municipalities, contributed to this high number. All apparatus and all equipment have completed and passed their respective performance tests for 2021. All deficiencies that were detected during testing were addressed, and we maintain 100% in-service status for requests for assistance. Testing of all fire hydrants along with the water department personnel have been completed. All fire hose has been tested and placed back into service. All personnel have completed and passed annual medical evaluations, and all personnel have completed or required annual training for 2021. The fire department received a $1,500 matching grant from the Department of Environmental Conservation for high combat hose and fittings used in interior firefighting. This hose and fittings replaces hose that has been in service since the early 2000s, so this is a much needed upgrade. Carolina 7 is turning 25 years old this year and should be on our radar, hopefully, for replacement. That being said, I filed for, I think you mentioned, a $1 million grant, apparatus grant, to replace the tower ladder with a new apparatus built to today's standards and with the latest innovations in the fire service. These AFG grants it's assistance to firefighters grants, are very competitive, but we have a good track record in the past, so I am keeping my fingers crossed for another positive outcome. Lieutenant Richard Valentine and Lieutenant Charlie Botra of the career staff have completed first line supervisor training program at Fort Totten under the FDNY training program, along with many other officers from all over New York State.
This training is instrumental in preparing our new officers for supervisory situations encountered on the emergency scene, as well as administrative duties not exposed, that they were not exposed to as firefighters. Switching to my code enforcement role, I've been enforcing and finalizing the repair of the sidewalk defects along with Administrator Patino and Public Works Supervisor Rick Veteran, the ones that we have been made aware of. A new list has already been started for next year. Village Code 245, Article 4, outlines responsibilities of owners to undertake a temporary repair of any defect to maintain a safe right-of-way for pedestrians until a more permanent repair can be made. New permits for outdoor dining through 2022 have been submitted, and I have been finalizing the configurations along with Trustee Bauer and Mayor Walsh for those locations. I said along with the Mayor and Trustee Bauer. Finally, the OFPC, Office of Fire Prevention and Control, has some very important fire safety tips for the holiday season. Please go to www.usfa.fema.gov/prevention for more information. And if you don't mind for 1 minute, I'll give you a couple of tidbits here. All right, candles are no longer used just for occasional dinner parties. In fact, only a small percent of candle fires start in the dining room. Families are lighting candles in the living rooms, family rooms, bedrooms, dens, and bathrooms. House fires have dropped 50% from 1980 to 1998, while house fires caused by candles increased by 31.4% for the same period. Nationally, deaths from candle-related fires rose 88.2% between 1980 and 1998. In most cases, unattended candles caused those fires. Nearly half of all candle fires start in the bedroom, with mattresses and other bedding items the most likely to go up in flames. 36% occurred because candles were left unattended, abandoned, or inadequately supervised. 18% occurred because some form of combustible material was left too close, and 9% were started by children playing with candles. Please remember the candle 2-foot circle of safety. 2 feet away from items that can burn, 2 feet away from children and pets, and extinguish after use. Okay, Christmas trees. Artificial Christmas trees. When purchasing an artificial Christmas tree, look for one labeled fire resistant. Although this label does not mean the tree won't catch fire, it does indicate the tree will resist burning and should extinguish quickly. Selecting a live tree. Needles on a fresh tree should be green and hard to pull back from the branches. Needles should not break if the tree has been freshly cut. Old trees can be identified by bouncing the tree on the ground. If many needles fall off, the tree has been cut for too long. Caring for your tree. Do not place your tree too close to a heat source, including the fireplace or heat vent. The heat will dry out the tree, causing it to be more easily ignited by heat, flame, or sparks. Do not put your live tree up too early or leave it up for too long. Keep the tree stand filled with water at all times. Disposing of your tree. Never put tree branches or needles in the fireplace or wood-burning stove. When the tree becomes dry, discard it promptly. The best way to dispose of your tree is to take it to your local recycling center. Decorations. Follow the manufacturer's instructions on how to use tree lights. Any string lights that are with worn, frayed, or broken cords or loose bulb connections should not be used. Never use electric lights on a metal tree. Never heard of a metal tree? Yeah? Unplug Christmas lights before leaving home or going to sleep. Never use lit candles to decorate a tree. If you use candles to decorate a room, make sure they are extinguished, as I said. All holiday decorations should be non-flammable or flame retardant and placed away from heat vents. And never put wrapping paper in the fireplace. It can throw off dangerous sparks and produce intense flames. Finally, guests. Keep your family and overnight guests safe with a working smoke alarm on every level of your home, in every bedroom, and in the halls adjacent to bedrooms. Test smoke alarms monthly and replace batteries at least twice a year. And that concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Have a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you. You too.
very much.
You too.
Okay.
Next up, reports from trustees. We'll start with Trustee Leonard.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to remind everyone that as you indicated in your State of the Village report, the leaf blower law allows you to blow till the 15th. This is our transition period. We're moving out of gas blowers to electric blowers, but it's also a wonderful opportunity right now when your landscaper is at your house to talk to them about next year and how maybe mulch mowing might be an option that you could consider. So the Larchmont Environmental Committee has been working very, very hard on this topic and have become a leader in advising other communities. So we're very fortunate to have their expertise here at home. With that, I just want to wish everybody a happy holiday and happy new year.
Thank you. Trustee Finelli.
Thank you, Mayor. Sure, tonight. I just want to congratulate the career firefighters in the Larchmont PBA and Light Up Larchmont. It was a fantastic event for those that showed and participated. Outstanding coordination. The tree lighting ceremony in front of Village Hall was fabulous. And the movie, The Polar Express, was a nice touch. I know there was some good feedback on that from families and children. We got a few emails just thanking us for that. Additionally, the Chamber of Commerce did a great job with getting people around the downtown through their horse and buggy rides. They had Santa and Mrs. Claus in the little bulb there. They had Elsa and Olaf. It was just a lot of fun, a lot of good feedback from that as well. And that's kind of what makes Larchmont Larchmont. I mean, it's that kind of special community environment and impact that the merchants and the paid force as well as the volunteers have on the residents. I want to also congratulate Bridget and Dana on their victory. And we look forward to working with you for the next 2 years. And we're very excited for all of you. And that's about it. I have some other stuff that you want to be interested in. Firefighting. I know every meeting, but I'm going to pass on this one because I think the mayor did a great job on all of that. Well, listen, thank you very much. And listen, have a great holiday season for those of you that celebrated Hanukkah. Blessings to all of you and your family. Those that are going to do Christmas, enjoy yourselves and just embrace the moment of the holidays. And those that are going to do Kwanzaa, enjoy that as well. And just remember, it's all about the family. Family is everything. Everything else is just everything else. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Bauer.
I just wanted to echo what Trustee Finelli had to say about Light Up Larchmont. A huge thanks to the Chamber, to the library, to the Friends of the Library, to the Professional Firefighter Association, to the PBA, for everybody for joining in the fun and just creating such a special day. And just a special thanks to Lieutenant Valentine and the Fire Department, who really, took the lead on putting together all of the fun events in Constitution Park. And then I just want to say happy holidays to everybody and congratulations to Dana and Bridget.
Thank you. And Trustee Post.
I have nothing to report. Thank you, and happy holidays to everyone.
Great. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go into the appointments and resolutions section of our organization meeting, the housekeeping section of this meeting. Let me get myself set. So I will start with some of the appointments that I get to make as mayor. I hereby appoint Trustee Sarah Bauer to be deputy mayor. I hereby make the following committee assignments. Deputy Mayor Bauer gets the Architectural Review Board, Historic Preservation Task Force, Zoning Board of Appeals, WIMAC, which is the Water Infrastructure and Management Advisory Group, and the Cable TV Board of Control. Trustee Finelli, Human Rights Committee, Fire Department, Arts Committee, Recreation Committee, Volunteer Ambulance Corps, Pine Brook Neighborhood Association, and the Coastal Zone Management Committee. Trustee Brennan, Finance and Budget, Bills and Invoices, Larchmont Environmental Committee, and the Traffic Commission. And Trustee Post, Planning Board, Parks and Trees, Beautification, and the Library. I will take Sanitation Commission, Board of Assessment Review, TVS, which stands for the Town, Village, and Schools. We have quarterly meetings, and the Chamber of Commerce. I hereby appoint Brian Riley as licensing agent for the village. You're welcome. I am now going to read a long series of motions appointing several employees for positions in the village, and then appointing volunteers to membership and chairmanship positions in all of our various volunteer committees. When I get to the end, I'll seek a motion, and then I'll seek a second, and then we'll vote. And I've been told this is an omnibus motion. So here we go. I seek motions to Approve the reappointment of Justin Totino as village clerk and registrar for a term of 2 years that will expire in December 2024. Approve the appointment of James Cazorla as deputy village treasurer for the coming year. Approve the reappointment of Brian Riley as deputy village clerk and registrar for the coming year. Approve the reappointment of Daniel Whittemore as village assessor for the coming year. Approve the reappointments of James Sinkyu and Jay Rubin as village prosecutors for the coming year. Appoint Chris McNerney as emergency coordinator. To appoint Neely Ashery as chair and Carrie Fettersfield as member of the Arts Committee. To appoint Kathy Ryan, Janet Thompson, and Penny Langone as members of the Beautification Committee. To appoint Anna Thomas as member of the Coastal Zone Management Committee. To renew for 1 year the Historic Preservation Task Force with all current members remaining. To appoint Michael Gottfried, Darren Moss, Catherine Pennell, Luis Perez, Eliza Pertz, Ken Weber, and Natalie Monin-Volker as members of the Larchmont Environmental Committee. To reappoint John Parkinson as chair for the remainder of the term ending December 2023, Michael Edelstein as member for the remainder of the term ending December 2022, and Roland Young as member for the term ending December 2024 of the Planning Board. To reappoint Chris Belisle as chair for another 3-year term ending December 2024, and appoint Bruce Frankel as co-chair for the remainder of his current term ending December 2022 of the Traffic Commission. To appoint Jody Rosenstrack as chair, Joseph Carney and Cassandra Marola as members of the Board of Assessment Review. To reappoint Maury Tamarin as an alternate member of the Architectural Review Board. That the board will meet once a month at 7:30 p.m. unless otherwise needed, all at the municipal building. That the tentative dates for upcoming meetings are as listed below, and these dates can be changed at the pleasure of the board. January 10, February 7, March 14, April 18, May 16, June 20, all in 2022. That all employees of the village who are required to provide surety bonds according to law shall, before entering upon the duties of their respective offices, be covered by blanket surety bond now in force or renewal thereof, and the expense shall be a charge on the village. That J.P. Morgan Chase and TD Bank are hereby designated as depositories for village funds for the ensuing year. That Administrator Totino and Deputy Treasurer James Cazorla are authorized signatories on all village bank accounts. To set the date of the Memorial Day Parade for Thursday, May 26, 2022 at 7 p.m. To designate the Journal News as the official newspaper of Larchmont. And that the board declares Larchmont's official tree to be the larch tree, of course. So, I seek a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Yay, we did it. We have a working government. Now I'll turn it over to the administrator. I don't believe our treasurer has any report for us this evening. So we'll take the administrator who will run us through the resolutions for number 18.
Sure. Happy holidays to all, and I'll just get right to business. So we have a series of license agreements for the board's consideration tonight. I'll do them in 2 groups. 2 pertain to drainage. As the board is aware, we've been actively pursuing people who pump water, sump pumps, just right into the street, right? So it causes icing in the winter, it deteriorates the roadway because we throw more salt, mosquitoes, you name it, it's a problem. So we had a list that went back to 2003. We jumped back on it. We had probably over 40 fixed in a short amount of time. Now we're getting to the ones that are more difficult to fix because of a particular property's proximity to a storm drain or a catch basin. So I asked the consulting engineer to provide a memo that the board has describing 26 Sherwood and 87 Willow's request. Again, each pertaining to installing drain pipe, their drain pipe, which they're going to maintain and utilize in the village's right of way to get them from their private property to the village's stormwater conveyance system. And in doing this, the consulting engineer makes sure that their system is adequate. So they don't just get a free pass to dump water into the system. They first got to try to address it on their property, whether it's Coltex or dry wells, regulating the height of the sump pump so it's not running all the time. The consulting engineer goes through there, and this is kind of like the last thing that there is to do before you just can't offer any help. So the village engineer recommends this. It'll solve our problem of water on the street. It'll solve their problem of potentially water in their basements. And I recommend it because it's good practice that anything that goes in the right of way is captured by the license agreement and it runs with the property. So again, the board has before it, we should do a motion individually, one for 87 Willow and one for 26 Sherwood, pertaining to authorizing myself to execute the license agreement.
So I seek a motion to authorize the administrator to execute a license agreement for 26 Sherwood Drive.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I seek a motion to authorize the administrator to execute a license agreement for 87 Willow Avenue. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The next license agreement pertains to a request that was made by the Larchmont Temple. The concept is the same. It's a private entity's use of the public right-of-way, and in this case, it's to install security planters along the village's right-of-way, somewhere between the curb and the sidewalk. Members of the temple and their professionals have discussed this with the board. The board has had the opportunity to make changes and suggestions, tweaks. We've also sent out, the temple has sent out letters to some of the abutting property owners that may be most impacted by the visual change. We received positive feedback. Other than that, no feedback from these hand-delivered letters. And the village attorney has prepared a license agreement that captures the board's concerns and comments. And I believe subsequent to our work session, there's going to be a couple of minor caveats that this resolution is intended to be approved in accordance with.
I can read those into the record.
Read those into the record.
Okay, so we're adding to this resolution. Resolved that this resolution is adopted subject to the following conditions. 1, the installation plan be reviewed by the village police department and shall be modified as requested by the police department. 2, the final details of the installation plan shall be as approved by the village administrator. And 3, should the village adopt a policy in the future for such security installations, the licensee shall be subject to the terms of such policy. And an additional change to the agreement in section 5, end of term restoration. At the end of the term hereof, as soon as is reasonably practicable, licensee, and now we're inserting at the direction of the village, at its sole cost and expense. So those are the changes that we made to the agreement and to the resolution. I'll pass that on down to you. I should have given it to you.
Thank you.
We can have that typed up.
Yes, we'll do the resolution that gets put in the minutes will be added to the front.
Right. So, are there any questions? Members of the temple are here in case anybody has any additional. Then I seek a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the resolution block is the advance approval of claims. If I have it, it'll be good, I guess I don't. There you go. Thank you.
Yes,
We got it, okay, thank you. Okay, so, New York State Village law is very specific on how our bills get paid. So in order for us to actually cut a check, the Board of Trustees or a member has to audit the bills and the backup, and then the board approves the bill list, and then we're actually allowed to cut the checks. Also, though, in New York State law, there's an opportunity for utilities and contractual matters that have already been previously approved by the board to be paid in advance of approval of the bill list. So So this will now be an annual resolution on our reorg agenda, and it just again pertains to that I have the authority as village administrator to sign off on these payments, and that I am personally liable if they're found improper. So we will be sure that no tax paid unless it's
So I seek a motion on the resolution on the advance payment of claims. So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
One more.
Finally is a new, I think, new for us at least, a new action item that's being requested by the village board. And this pertains to the year-end closeout. As the mayor mentioned in her State of the Village address, that the auditors are here and underway and working on our closing out our fiscal year 2021. It'd be great if I had this paperwork. I don't know what happened to me. I'm so sorry. Oh, I got it now, sorry. So a finding on our audit report has been that we have some accounts that go over the budgeted authorization, and obviously some that come under. And in our practice, we've just basically closed the year out, and it's always reflected in our subsequent budget, the actual number. But pursuant to New York State law, the village is technically supposed to close out with a balanced budget. And while the village treasurer can make some adjustments for these account lines within their own cost centers, paper clips for paper clips, so to speak, the treasurer can now, without board's approval, move money from one cost center to another to make these balances applicable. So, for example, if we have a lot of overtime on the police department, and we have money in our contingency, it's a separate cost center, it's a separate purpose. Through this resolution, we can now pull that money out of contingency to satisfy that overage and close the year with a balanced budget. I should also add that this does not, by doing these transfers, does not exceed our total authorized amount. So our budget was adopted in April of 2021 for a set amount. Nothing changes that. This doesn't change that. If we did run over and needed an application from fund balance, we would call it out in this request. But that's not the case. To the opposite, we're actually going to be closing out with a surplus, not a deficit. Also with this is now a tool to begin the budget process for next year. The treasurer, staff, and myself, we can look through and see, are these habitual lines that were always over that we're just not budgeting properly, or are these one-offs where, you know what, sometimes that's what happens in life, and just leave it alone for now. So we'll use this as a tool, as a jumpstart to next year's budget, to again, hopefully next year, instead of 3 or 4 pages, we knock it down to 1 or 2 pages of items that we have to transfer. So unless the board has any questions, again, this is a New York State requirement for villages to close out with a balanced budget. Otherwise known as budget modification.
Any questions? Okay, seek a motion to approve the resolution for the budget closeout of fiscal year 2020-2021.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And just want to give a little shout out to James is here tonight, Deputy Treasurer. The entire Treasury staff, as you know, has really stepped it up. As you know, Kimberly resigned from the position back in September. We've been fortunate that Mary Lou McClure has joined us on an interim basis to help out. As you know, she was the retired treasurer from Scarsdale. But it really takes the full-time staff here that know the village to have her be in a position to help us. And they've done so. They've done the audit done in record time. The auditors are very pleased with what they found in terms of our checks and balances and the way we're maintaining the books. So things are really doing well in the treasurer's office despite not having someone at the helm, and I appreciate everyone stepping up. Thank you, James. Thank you.
At previous work sessions, we promoted Daniel Calapai to sergeant, which you witnessed this evening, and we appointed Drissy G. Nunez as court clerk. Next up, attorney. Do you have anything to report?
Nothing legal, Mayor, just to wish a peaceful holiday season to everyone here and their families.
Thank you. Same to you. Yes.
Thanks.
Now we have the approval of minutes of the meetings. So we're going to start with the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees on Monday, November 15th. We were all present, so we can all vote. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now the minutes of the work session held on Monday, November 1st. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the minutes of the work session held on Monday, November 15th. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Okay.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We are now, I think, officially caught up.
Yeah.
We're gonna end the year. We were too. So good. And the final item on our agenda this evening before we adjourn is the approval of the bills. I'll turn it over to Trustee Brennan.
Thank you, Mayor. I have reviewed invoices associated with check register for bill list dated December 6, 21. They appear to be in order. There are other invoices that have been paid in advance of this bill list and will be dealt with under a separate resolution. I move that the board resolve to pay all invoices listed therein in the amount of $33,305.18. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I have also reviewed paid invoices associated with the bill list for December 6, 2021, and they also appear to be in order. I move that the board ratify all the invoices listed therein in the amount of $25,054.39. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you very much.
I'll also thank James, because I have to say the process of doing this, I've asked a lot of questions, and he's been very kind to walk me through this every month. So, thank you very much, James, for getting this process done together.
I seek a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Elsie.